Hello everyone. Just like previously promised, I am going to show you today the how the concept of Wi-Fi hacking works, and this is not possible to be taught in an online class because we will be entering into something called promiscuous mode during our packet capturing, which you will see in further in a couple of minutes or so, during which our internet access will be broken, so we will not be able to access the internet or browse any content which you will see. That is the reason we cannot do it in an online class. Hopefully you will understand the concepts very clearly, and I will be available for you after the video recording. After I share it with you people, I'll be available for your doubts, and if you have any queries you can just let me know. Clear on this? Now let's move forward. If you can observe, there are certain things that we need to take care of. First thing, we need to look at what are the internet connections that are available, and this I'm going to do it on my own LAN network so that I'm not violating any of the ethical prospects that we are going to look at. So if you can observe, we have certain IDs that we have. I mean, these are all the internet connections that we are actually having around my LAN network. So this is something GeoFiber 2.4 gigahertz. I'm connected to GeoFiber itself, which is 5 gigahertz, and I'm going to try hack into GeoFiber 2.4 gigahertz, which is also part of my own LAN network. So I'm not breaking any of the ethics or rules. Okay, feel free to learn, but you have to try it only on your permitted networks. Only then you can also inculcate the word ethics in the ethical hacking. It's not about trying everything on the public infrastructure. And now let us see the options. First of all, there we are going to discuss a little bit on how the internet works, what kind of encryptions that this particular Wi-Fi uses, and all these things. The first thing that you have to remember is that Wi-Fi, it operates in, you can say, IEEE 802.11. That is the protocol using which the Wi-Fi works. And previously we used to have the encryption called WEP, which is wired equivalent protection. Currently it is outdated, and now we are using something called WPA, Wi-Fi protected access, and that is also, like, we are using the second version of it, WPA2, which is almost common everywhere. You see the hotspots that you carry or the Wi-Fi that you connect to anywhere, it is mostly the WPA2. We are going to see certain aspects of it, and then you will understand better. And you need to remember that AES, Advanced Encryption Standard, not algorithm Edu-Space, Advanced Encryption Standard, that is what is being used in this WPA2 encryption. And this AES is actually a symmetric encryption that we are going to use. And further, when we are seeing, you will understand how the packets are being captured in this particular attack and how we are going to crack it. All these things will be dealt with slowly. We are going to use for this particular attack a particular suite of tools called AirCrack. Okay, and in that you have, it's not just one tool, it is actually a framework of different tools. They all belong to this wireless attack category, wireless networks. So we are going to use them. So first let's start with AirCrack. Okay, the first tool that we are going to see is called airmon-ng, and all these things should be run using your super user privileges, that is sudo airmon-ng, and then you just click on enter, give your password. You can see that here I am connected to my WLAN 0, which is wireless LAN Wi-Fi, and you can see the physical adapter, you can see the driver, you can see the chipset, all this information is present. Okay, and currently if you observe, I have my internet access as well. As you can see, if I go to YouTube, I can see the YouTube. Okay, or I can browse any other thing, whatever is available. All these things are possible. Now let us see some command which says start WLAN 0. Here we are actually making this airmon, which basically stands for monitor. Okay, so this is going to start our network adapter and make it into a monitor mode adapter. Okay, when we have two modes, one is called station mode, the other one is called monitor mode. When we are in station mode, we are actually transmitting data and receiving data. Okay, that is normally what you see. We will have access to internet. And there is another thing called promiscuous mode, you call it also as monitor mode, where you are not transmitting or you're not receiving any data, you are just capturing the data that is actually traveling through, okay, in the transit. And now let us start this. You will see certain changes. So as you can see, when I started this, it says that monitor mode, okay, enabled and station mode disabled. This is what we wanted to see. And let's just see what is our airmon-ng again. It says that previously it was, if you observe, previously it was just WLAN 0. Now it has become WLAN 0 mon. That means we are in the monitor mode. And you can also observe my internet actually has disconnected. So if I go to YouTube, let me just refresh, you can see it can't be reached. Let me go to some other thing like Google. You can't see it. It says no internet connection. That is the reason I couldn't deal with it in the online class. Let us see how it can be dealt with. Okay, let me refresh once again. We are not getting anything. Now let me go to a new tab. Now what I am going to do is I am going to utilize certain commands to find certain information about all the networks that are available to me to hack. And we are going to select only our thing, which is GeoFiber 2.4 gigahertz. That is what I'm going to utilize. But you can observe sudo aero dump. This is something that actually is going to dump all the data regarding the networks that are available around this particular antenna of my router. Okay, so here my router, you can say here my network adapter, that is what it is looking for. You can say whatever networks are available around this network adapters antenna, all those things will be displayed here. Let me just do this, give the password. You can see there are a lot of details coming down. You can see here we have our data as well. So once we have seen our data, it's enough for us, so we are going to stop it. Okay, and I am going to show you one more thing as well in the in some time, which you need to remember. This is particular information that we are looking for. Here you can see there is something called BSS ID, which is basically the MAC address of this particular router. And you can see the power, what is the power of the signal, how many beacons are being sent, I mean how many data packets, data frames. You can calculate how busy this particular network is based on how many beacons it is sending. Okay, and you can see the data, all these things are present here. You need to remember something about the channel, which is important. So we are going to use this channel. And you can see encryption. If you observe, what is the encryption of this particular thing, it is WPA2, okay, which is wireless, Wi-Fi protected access 2. Okay, and then here they are using something called CCMP as their cipher. Okay, and it is actually having PSK. PSK is basically the password authentication, because we have set up one password, so that is the password that we are having. Okay, and then ESSID is basically the Wi-Fi's name that you generally have, so everybody can identify, because not everyone can remember this particular MAC address. We use this one for our human consumption. Now let us put this aside like this. I'm going to open a new tab, just so that whenever I'm opening new tabs, you can all do in the same tab, but I'm opening new tabs because whenever I want to see whether I'm connected to this one or the normal WLAN 0, I can just look up to this, or whether I want to take some data from here, then I can just come here and copy it to my clipboard and get it. That is the reason I'm not doing everything in the same tab. Okay, so let us come here, and what I am going to do is I am going to utilize one more command, which says sudo aero dump -ng space BSS ID. You can see this one. So basically here we are going to change certain things. Let me remind you, there are also the commands that are available just beside you in the screen, so you can use those as well. Here what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this particular thing to the name of the Wi-Fi that we are using. So I'll just copy this one and let me just paste it here. And now here we need to look at the channel. If you remember, the channel is 6. So here you can see it is channel 6. So let me just change it to 6, and we need to change the BSS ID. So the BSS ID is basically the MAC address. So let's just put this, now it will start capturing only that data which we require for our network to get authentication. Okay, so let me just start this. I'm going to give my password. But before that, I want you to remember something. There is something called, uh, for this attack to be successful, you need to understand two things. One, you cannot attack a network where there are no users. If you are the only user, then this particular method is not going to work. Okay, for this to work, you need at least one more user who has already been connected to, or who is trying to connect while this attack is happening. Maybe you might not know the person, maybe he is nowhere related to the attack, just a random stranger, but still there should be at least one person who is trying to connect to that particular network, so that when they are actually trying to connect, we are going to capture something called, uh, what do you say, a Wi-Fi handshake packet. Okay, and that is going to contain the details, so we are going to do that. Now if you observe, let me just give my password. So it has actually started getting this. I am actually connected to my mobile phone, where it is the same Wi-Fi that I am connected to. I can perform this either by disconnecting my Wi-Fi and reconnecting it, or instead I can also perform one more attack called as a replay, which is like a de-authentication. Sudo a replay -ng, and here again we need to give the MAC address. Let's give the MAC address, and here we need to give how many packets of data to be sent. Let me just tell something like 10 and give the password. Now it is going to send these beacons so that my internet gets disconnected. If you observe here, actually we have got a handshake. Okay, that is what we were looking for. Let's quit this. Once we get this WPA handshake, that is enough. We have already got it. Okay, so it might take some time in case you are trying it. Maybe there are not good devices that are directly connecting, so it might take some time, but you need to get this particular handshake. Once you get this handshake, what happens is, let me just get here, you will understand it. If I do ls, you can see there are certain files with this particular name. Okay, geofiber 2 so and so, okay, pcap file, csv file, kismet.csv, all these things. We are interested in this particular capture file, so let me just clear this. Okay, okay, let me open Wireshark, and here I am going to open a particular file. Let's go here. There is this geofiber 2.4 gigahertz. Okay, this particular file. Let's open this. If you can just check how big this file is, we have captured somewhere around how many packets? 37,000 packets in this time frame of around 3 to 5 minutes. And what we are going to look at is, we need to look at a protocol called EAPOL. Okay, this is what we are looking at, and here if you observe, we have got different messages which are all related to the key. Okay, you can just basically get the same data by scrolling through the whole thing as well, but you can see that this is what is important for us. Let us open something where I am having a mobile which is a Xiaomi, okay, Redmi phone. So you can just look, this is actually a message which is coming from my mobile phone. From here, from the top, if you search, all these are actually coming from the source, which is server com, which is actually my router, to my destination, which is my mobile phone. Okay, so I'm not interested which is originating from the router. I'm looking at the data which my mobile phone is sending. I'm considering my laptop to be the attacker, and my mobile phone to be some random person's device, okay, which is trying to connect. So if you observe, I want to look at the data which is actually going from my Xiaomi communications. So if we scroll, all these are message ones. If you look at the message 2, that is what is our required thing. You can just open this and you can look at this particular thing, 802.1. okay, this is the authentication that we are having. So you can see there is something called WPA key data. Okay, So this is actually the data that is being sent. Of course it is encrypted, so we can't exactly know what is the initialization vector. There is something called initialization vector which is used to particularly get certain data. So let me show you certain things, you will understand it better. So here if you observe, we have the key IV, which is actually all zeros because it is not visible to us, but in the background there is some other data. Okay, so key IV is basically the initialization vector. Okay, and here you can see the key data which they are actually being XORed. Okay, exclusive OR logic is being applied, and then we get the thing. It is actually called as challenge text in this WPA2. What happens is there is a particular process where you actually request for all the data. There is something called probe messages which are being sent by the router to everybody, and there is something called probe request which is being sent by the devices, all the devices that are looking for Wi-Fi, to the router. Once this happens, we are actually asking for the authentication. When authentication request comes, we are going to send the authentication request, and the router sends the authentication response. After this, the challenge happens. What happens is there will be an IV which is in initialization vector different for every router, and that router's value, it is sent to this particular device. And now the device, whenever you type the password, it is being encrypted using that IV, and then the encrypted text is being sent to this particular data. Once encrypted data is being sent to the router uses its IV value to decrypt it. Okay, if at all the decrypted value and the encrypted before encryption the value, if they are same, that means it confirms that the challenge text whatever has been sent, it is exactly same, and it is going to give the connection. For this they are going to do something called authentication, and then we are going to get it. Okay, you can see the packets as well. I will show you the packets, you will understand it much better. uh, let's go to the top. If you can observe, here you can see there should be some things called probe packets, which we will see in a couple of minutes or so. This is quite a big file to look for. Let's search for it if possible. Somewhere near to the key we should find it. Okay, let's look for ePole once again. So the messages for ePole actually start at 28,400. So we'll look at it like this. Okay, this is the de-authentication that we have sent. If you observe, we have sent a de-authentication for all the devices using our A replay. So that is the de-authentication that is happening, and somewhere here in the, maybe near to this, yes, can you see this? There is a probe request. Okay, the selected packet here in the blue, that is a probe request. Okay, and here immediately we have got a probe response as well. The probe request is actually sent by my device. Okay, we are going to get something called probe message, and then this is the probe request, and the probe response is sent by the router to my device. And then you can see again, there was some de-authentication that was happening. It was for quite like a long time. Again you can see some probe response. There is some other device which is trying to connect. I'm not sure exactly what this device is, most probably my TV, Android TV or something. So here again we have got some probe response, all these probe response. Here you can see acknowledgements. Okay, quite a long list of de-authentication. Okay, so here you can see that there is authentication. Okay, if you can observe, authentication is actually being sent from my mobile phone to you observe this particular thing. Probe request was sent, and then probe response was sent. Probe request was sent from my mobile to the router, and then probe response was sent from the router to my mobile, and then you can see authentication packet being sent from my mobile to the router, and then you can see again authentication which is sent from the router to my mobile. This authentication is actually a request, and this authentication is the response. Okay, after everything is done, you can observe 28,252. After this, there are certain packets which are which I don't know, which might be missing. They are actually in the ePOL. Okay, you can see there is association request. Association happens when authentication is successful. Okay, association request and then association response. That means we have basically got the details, I mean got the connection. But the problem is again there was kind of a de-authentication which was constant, so maybe because of which we still did not get it. But here you can see, from here you can see ePOL, which is we have got the transfer of key data here. All this wherever you see key, that is all related to this particular thing. So let us just look how we are going to crack this. Let me close this. Let me clear the terminal. We no longer need these two particular things. Let's open a new terminal. We are actually looking for how to crack the password. For cracking the password, if you remember, okay, there is a note just beside you as well to look at it. But if you can observe, we use something called air crack. Okay, I forgot to use sudo air crack -ng space -w is for word list, as you already know. Let us try giving the biggest one, like rock.txt or something like that. /user /share /word list rock.txt, and then we need to give the capture file. So our capture file is actually geofiber 2.4 gigahertz -01.cap. This is the file. Let's just give this and let's try capturing it. So here it has actually found the password immediately, which is 11223344. Okay, because it is very least possible password. It has found almost immediately within less than a second. But if you don't know what is the combination, okay, now you know that it is 11223344 because it is present in the rock.txt. We know it. What if we don't know whether the password is present in the rock.txt or not? Whether something like a different generic one which is not present in rock.txt or any other word file. How are we going to do that? For which we can use something like crunch. let's see this. Okay, remember that the password is 11223344. Okay, let us see this. I am going to use, let me open a new terminal so that everything is clear. This is the command that I am going to use, for which I am going to give the capture file, and here I need to give the Wi-Fi name as well. Let me just get this from here. And here if you observe, actually I need to give the characters and I need to give the length. The crunch is actually one tool. Okay, let me open a new terminal once again just to show you what is crunch. Crunch is basically a word list creator that you can use to create custom word lists. Okay, these basically are like a repeating word list creator. So you can give a minimum number of characters, let's say something like 3, and maximum number of characters something like 5, and then you can give what are the characters that you want to look at. Let's say I'm going to create a word list which says A, B, C, D. I want these characters to be used, and 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the 8 characters that I'm going to use. You can give any number of characters, all the letters like A to Z with capital letters and all the digits. You can try all those things. Let us just for this demonstration, let us see how I'm going to create it. ADBC, I have given it as ADBC. You can give whatever you want, ABCD in the correct order as well, that's okay. And here observe, the minimum number of characters is 3 and the maximum number of characters is 5. So it is going to create a word list starting with 3 characters and ending with 5 characters using all these characters individually. Let us just put it something like this. I am going to give it to crunch.txt. Okay, let's just give it to that. So it has created already, and it says that let us look for this particular thing. So here we have crunch.txt. Let's open this crunch.txt. If I open this crunch.txt, you can understand that all the letters like AAD, because I have given the order as ADBC, so it has gone from AAA to AAD, then AAB, and in this way it has started with 3 characters, and when you go to the bottom completely to the end, you can observe all these things. Okay, so the 5 characters, actually the thing is, this particular thing is 37376 is basically the serial number, and all 4s is the last thing that we have created. And you can see how it generally develops this, or let me just open it through some other thing. Again, maybe not. So basically I hope you understood. You can see these are all the characters that are being used. Okay, and then it has created a word list with these combinations. You can use something like this to crack. So as we have seen, our password is 11223344, so it is basically 8 characters. Just to save time, I'm going to go for 8 and 8. This 8 is actually the minimum, and this 8 is the maximum number of characters. You can give something like the 3 and 8, that is not a problem. Just to save time, I'm going to go with this. You can give however you want, and then after this you need to give the command, the characters that you want to use. We already know it is just the digits, so I don't want to just stick with 1 2 3 4. I can give something like 0 to 9 as well, but to save time I'm going to give 0 to 5. Okay, let's give something like this, and this is the command. So let us just enter. It is asking for our password. You can see it is actually it starts capturing. You can see how much time has been elapsed and what is the current password phrase, how many passwords it is trying for every second. K stands for key, and it is trying around 17,000 passwords every second. Okay, so you can see we are almost near. it has found the password. It took 20 seconds to crack this. Okay, it took 20 seconds to crack this. And how many passwords did it check? What was the number of this particular thing in this combination? It was 3,43,304. Okay, it has checked for 3 lakh passwords, around 3.5 lakh passwords within 20 seconds, because it was a combination. And you can see this is actually the master key, which it is cracking. This is the transient key, which is basically checking against, and this is the epoll hmac, which is basically the encryption. We have seen this particular packet, epoll packet, and this is what it is checking against, so to get confirmation whether it is correct or not. Okay, this is how you crack the passwords. I hope everything is clear. If at all you have any questions, I'm available for it. You can message me and then we can discuss. Hopefully I will just play the same video in the Google Meet class that we are going to have today evening, and then you will understand. When we are doing the whole attack, I still don't have internet connection. You can observe I don't have it. So what I need to do is, let me close all these things. Here if I just check airmon-ng, I am still in the monitor mode itself, so I need to turn that on. So I'll just type stop WLAN 0 mon and enter. So now you can see station mode is enabled and monitor mode is disabled, and immediately you can see I am also connected to my Wi-Fi. So if I go here and refresh, I am going to get the internet access. So I hope it was interesting. I hope you have understood it well. Let us see in the class.